What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video we're focusing back on Sanzar, and the Wallabies and the All Blacks are apparently in talks to boot South Africa from Super Rugby. Now we've heard tons and tons of rumours of South Africa going to the Six Nations, of South Africa staying, Super Rugby being moved to New Zealand. We've really heard a lot in this time, but now the latest is that senior players from the Wallabies and the All Blacks have reportedly united in a bid to remove South Africa from Super Rugby. According to Nine News, the Australian players, led by captain Michael Hooper, took part in a phone call with their Kiwi counterparts, including the new skipper in Sam Cane. The reason for the call was to attempt to float ideas about how to restart Super Rugby amid the ongoing global coronavirus pandemic, but also to discuss the long-term viability of the competition, which contains franchises from 5 countries, obviously Argentina and Japan included. So they apparently are working on a deal in order to try and create a tournament that is more locally viable for the New Zealand and Australian teams. But the problem is, what's preferred, before we get into the problem, is that the preferred format decided upon those players is a trans-Tasman competition involving existing 9 teams from Australia and New Zealand, reintroducing the Western Force to this campaign. They'd also be happy to welcome the Pacific Island team to move in. That would please World Rugby as they attempt to make the world game more accessible and competitive amongst the smaller nations. The stumbling block and the problem, as mentioned about 2 seconds ago, is that Rugby Australia is stalling on a new broadcast deal. They haven't got that official yet. New Zealand and South Africa have already secured deals beyond 2020, and if you've been here for a while, you would have heard New Zealand's deal, which is massive with Sky, and then South Africa obviously with SuperSport to currently support the Super Rugby format. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes about. South Africa obviously in Super Rugby, and then you got the Cheetahs and the Kings in Pro 14. The talk is that they should all go join the South. Now the reasoning is why people say this is because keep it local, the trans-Tasman competition, meaning that the time differences won't be a big issue. Travel will be a lot cheaper, and it will suit obviously those countries. For South Africa to go play their sport or their provincial sport in Europe, again, the flight is a long way, but you're sitting at an hour to 2 hour difference in time zone, so it will suit the television rights and all that stuff for broadcasting and for fans watching. For me personally, it's not an issue to wake up at 8 on a weekend to watch the All Blacks and the Wallabies provincial teams play. I love doing that. But on the other hand, if we have to reverse it, for the guys to wake up at the crack of dawn, like 2, 3, 4 o'clock sometimes, in order to just watch a Super Rugby game, is tough to do, because you don't want to wake up at the crack of dawn as much as you love your teams. But those are the current situations we're facing with this current tournament we have. Now, whether we like it or not, Super Rugby does need a shake-up, and there's talk of it going back to the round robin tournament, and obviously we're losing the Sunwolves and not sure who else. There's also talk of maybe New Zealand taking more advantage, as they will have the most majority in broadcasting rights paid out. So there's a whole different ways to look at it. But the latest is that Michael Hooper and Sam Cane have been in discussion in order to boot South Africa. Again, it's not their call, it's Sanzar's call, but we'll have to wait and see. If you've got big authorities, figures like the captains of their respective countries wanting South Africa out, then we'll see it. We've heard loads of media reports of people like Andrew Mertens want South Africa out, and it looks like we could be heading in that way. I don't want to leave Super Rugby as a South African fan. I love watching it. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, because the final decision will be left with Sanzar and World Rugby. So we'll see. Only time will tell. Let me know your thoughts, if you guys, especially over there in Australia and New Zealand, if you've heard anything else on this matter, and if South Africa should indeed be booted out, or if they should stick around. I think they should stick around. That's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you real soon for another one. Stay safe and never give up. Cheers.